Shalom. First of all, I'd like to start by giving all praises and glory due to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakah Kodash, and double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, and salutations to the Arkim doing this work in sincerity and in truth. This is just a quick video in response to a video made by Blackstone Intelligence Network, which you do get a lot of good information from this channel. If you don't already watch it, it's in particular this video here entitled Israel and Saudi Arabia Unite to Destroy Iran. There's a part 1 and there's a part 2, and I briefly watched some of it while I was at the workplace. Anyway, some of the things that he had mentioned, really go into US and Saudi Arabia relations, or early relations, going back to the king you now see on the screen. I can't remember his name, but it was in 1945, around that time anyway. Things he mentioned was the agreement that this king made with the US, because the US approached him on the topic of Israel, and basically he was against Israel. But one of the agreements he made was, and a request, was a trade for oil for protection, via US military or wherever it be, that his family would remain on the throne. So if you would like to go into more of that information, you could watch the video and do some research into it. All right. But pretty much the purpose of doing this video is to evidence the fact that, Esau's military is being placed around the world to enforce an agenda. All right. And that the agenda, is not no one day idea. This thing has been thought through. This thing has been meditated on. All right. And Esau, he's always been like that. He's never deterred from that criminal mindset, which is to gain control wherever he can find it. All right. Esau has this bloodthirst and don't want anyone on top or to have anything. All right. And just to back up that information, let's just start by getting straight into the scriptures, man. Let's go to Micah, the 2nd chapter and the 2nd verse. It says, "And they covet fields and take them." Let's start from 1. "Woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds." All right, this evil and this idea or device, what they've devised, has been going back generations. All right, in how Esau can win back his blessing. All right, going back to Jacob and Esau, and to do so, he has amassed great wealth and opportunity in which he plans to take control of, which is already the world's in his hands, meaning he has the power to express his blessing, which was the sword, which is synonymous with destruction. He's able to go around different places of the world and deceive them and take control of their economies and their resources by deception. All right. It says, "Woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it because it is in the power of their hand." All right. So that's the type of psychology that Esau has. It's always to do something that is wrong or wicked or malicious or evil. It says, so you got economic hitmen is one of the devices that they use, which they, present themselves with a deal to a particular nation. And if that nation or their authorities refuse that deal, then they just take them out one way or another, propaganda, and then create like a civil unrest in their country, and then intervene, as if, they're the world police. And it's pretty much one of the techniques that Esau has used for a long time now, in which he's gathered and had an agenda to take over 5 countries when you watch a video by Wes, what's his name? What's his name? Wesley Clark. All right, he goes into the plan and agenda of the US, which he discussed with a general to take over different countries. All right, Iraq, so forth, Iran, etc. So from here, let's continue on. It says, when the morning is light, they practice it because it is in the power of their hand. Yeah, meaning that the world was given into their hands. Let's go to just before we continue on. It says that in what is it, Daniel's 4. Slovakia. The basis of men. Let's what's wrong with my eyes today, bro? Let me just type it in. Yeah, Slovakia. I was close enough. Daniel's 4:17. It says, this matter is by the decree of the watchers, and the demand by the word of the holy ones, to the intent that the living may know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men. That's right, because the Heavenly Father is the one that controls everything. It says, and giveth it to whomsoever he will. All right, and that's right, man. So pretty much every nation's had a different opportunity to rule. All right. And setteth up over it the basest of men. So the earth right now is in the hands of the basest of men. And those base people are the Edomites. All right? Because everything, their rulership is very degenerate, destructive, and filled with lies, deception, robbery, murder, and deceit. So let's go back to Micah 2:2. It says, and they covet fields. Well, who's doing that, man? Who's policing the whole world? And, making the nation suffer and fear them. And they covet fields and take them by violence. And there's a lot of bloodshed caused by Esau. One of the examples would be, look at the condition of Iraq now. After they took over it, man, and went over there saying there's weapons of mass destruction, when they really went over there to seek oil and whatever royalties resources they could get, and also as part of an agenda to get closer to a particular enemy, namely Iran. All right, which is all fulfilling prophecy. Anyway, it says, and houses and take them away. So they oppress a man and his house, even a man and his heritage. So right now, Esau's planning. Esau's already took over many countries. All right. And one of the statements which was mentioned in that video with this guy called Wes, who I just mentioned, and a general, pretty much he said that's the problem when you have a hammer. All right, everything has to be a nail. All right, or looks like a nail. And by that he meant the military. They got to forge wars because they have such a great military spread over many countries that it takes a lot of resources, a lot of soldiers, weapons, and assets, and money invested, in developing those weapon technologies. He has to justify keeping them. Otherwise, where are they going to go? And what's going to happen to the men that are in the military? You see? And that all goes back to part of Esau's nature, if it were, all right, as it were. Esau's nature is to, steal, covet fields and take them by violence, and houses and take them away and oppress a man in his heritage, man. All right, and they did that mainly with you Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Americans and so forth, you Israelites, you 12 tribes. All right, but he continues to do that to the nations, and the nations are getting fed up of it. All right, so much so in Iraq, they want to kick them out of the country. And any, other, non-native entities, man. So from here, let's go to let's go to Genesis 25. All right. Genesis 25 and 27. This is going back to the early progeny and the patriarch of you so-called white people, you Edomites. In Genesis 25 and 27 it says, and the boys grew, and Esau, which is your progenitor, Esau was a cunning hunter. All right, hunters, and what do hunters do? They kill, and that's a very that's a custom to these Edomites and their nature. They like to kill, man. They have a need and a desire to execute. All right, whether it be cattle, whether it be people, they always have that nature to hunt, and that just expresses itself in Esau's military. The need to justify through propaganda the creating of a World War III, all right, which he did the First World, Second World, and Third World Wars. All right, a man of the field. All right, so he loves the field, man, and he'll do anything to take yours. Now, going further back, in Genesis 3, it says, now the serpent, which was a man, which was you Edomites, you devils, in your earlier state, you was known as a serpent. Back then, you had a different name, and then you had you throughout the process of time, people would identify themselves differently. Well, you so-called white people, you Edomites, your earlier name or title, if you will, was a serpent. And it's evidence that you can call men serpents in the scriptures. As Yahweh Shai himself said, he called what are they called again, man? Wicked Pharisees said you serpents and vipers, man. All right, but anyway, I digress. It says, now the serpent was more subtle being under the web. A spider doesn't get caught in its own web because it has an oil or ointment in its skin that it doesn't, or its hairs, that it doesn't get trapped in a snare. All right, and that's Esau. All right, he was that man or that serpent. All right, his nature is to lay traps, and one of those traps is laid to achieve that agenda is propaganda of Iraq having weapons of mass destruction to get closer to achieving his goal, which is to, get the oil and dominate these other world entities, you know. So continuing on, it says, now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field, which the Lord power had made. All right, so that was going into the story about how get to the man, to get to Adam. Basically, the serpent, or Esau, if you prefer. All right, well, before he was Esau, the serpent would use our women. All right, which in this case it was Eve. So anyway, from here, what I'm trying to do is build a picture and evidence the fact that at the end of the day, Esau's in all the different four corners of the earth, to enforce an agenda, and to enforce it by deception, subtlety, and the sword. And just for the sake of it now, when you go to Genesis, the 27th chapter and the 41st verse, is it? One of the blessings Esau's blessing was the sword. Which is in the 40th verse. It says, and by the sword shalt thou live, and shalt serve thy brothers. All right, and that sword is basically synonymous with war and destruction. And the point's been made already that Esau has this bloodthirst and will do anything to fulfill it, man. This need for and desire to do evil. All right. And that was really the purpose of Esau in the first place. All right, to be that example of the perfect devil, man. In which, by being so and doing so, the Heavenly Father will destroy him and show you an example of how not to be upon the earth. All right. Now, do I want to go more on that? No, man, I think, this is a quick video. I'm going to pretty much end it on that. At the end of the day, you can see that Esau has been trying to achieve his agenda through policies, and backdoor deals. And one of his main parts of his agenda right now is going after Iran. And we can see by looking at some of this history between Saudi Arabia and the US, you can see, that this ain't something that just happened overnight. This was something that was devised, as we've read. Psalms 64 and 6, I'll leave you on this. They search out iniquities. They accomplish a diligent search, both the inward thought of every one of them and the heart is deep. So this goes deeper than just taking over and trying to get oil. All right. This is a desire within Esau to just, he has an urge and a need to destroy everything, man. But ultimately, our Heavenly Father is going to show his power upon Esau, because he put Esau in that hot seat anyway. All right, just so he could show his power. So anyway, until the next video, hope you were edified. I'm going to say shalom.